In this video, you'll learn how to include external CSS files. Then, we'll include CSS Bootstrap and use a couple of its components. Bootstrap is one of the most popular CSS libraries, and we'll use it in future projects a lot. First, I'll show you how to create an external CSS file and use it on your web page. For that, we'll need a div element. It's gonna have the PHP class. Its content will be PHP is for backend. Now let's style it a bit. I'll use a class selector and make it 500 pixels wide. The padding is gonna be 20 pixels from all sides. Let's align its text to the center and add a border, 3 pixels, solid royal blue. There is nothing special here. The goal is just to have some styles that we can use in the future. Save the file, refresh the page. Good. At this point, we're keeping our CSS code in this HTML, in the style element. This is convenient and sufficient in certain cases, like when learning CSS or for running quick experiments. But most of the time, especially when your website grows or you're doing professional web development, you want to keep your CSS code in a separate file and then include and load that file into your HTML page. Let me show you how to do this. The goal is to move our CSS code to a separate file and include it into this web page. So we'll need to create a new file. For that, I'm gonna open the primary side panel, create a new file, and I'm gonna name it main CSS. For your CSS files, I recommend you choosing a file name that reflects the purpose of your CSS code. Like if you have a CSS file that contains styles for a navbar, then name that file something like navbar CSS. Choosing good names for your CSS files will make it easier for you and other developers to navigate your project. Now I'm gonna move this CSS rule to our CSS file. And let's remove this line. Save the file. Great. And I'm also gonna remove this style element. We don't need it anymore. Let's also close the primary sidebar. Either use this option or this keyboard shortcut. I'm gonna hit Command B. If I save this file and refresh the page, our div is back to its default styles. Our custom styles are gone. That's because for these styles to be applied, we need to include our main CSS file into this index.html file. To do that, we'll add the link tag to the head element of the index.html file and specify the location of our CSS file with the href attribute. Our CSS file is in the same location as the index.html file. So I'll just put its name, main CSS. But as with images, we can use an external URL here to load CSS from other sources. This is what we're gonna do later to load Bootstrap. A CSS style sheet is not the only thing we can load with the link element. We can use it to load many other types of resources like fav icons and fonts. Okay, next we need to tell the browser that we're loading a CSS file with the rel attribute. For CSS, the value is gonna be style sheet. Don't forget to include rel style sheet, otherwise the browser won't apply your styles. Link is a self-closing tag, so I'm gonna put a closing angle bracket, save the file, refresh the page. Great, the browser has successfully loaded and applied our styles. If your styles didn't load, make sure that you put the CSS file in the same folder as the index.html file. Also, make sure that you specified the exactly same file name in the href attribute. Sometimes I tend to misspell it. And also make sure that you have the rel attribute and that the value is exactly the same as I have it here. Doing all that should solve the issue. Okay, we can also put the link tag in the body element and it will still work. However, it's better to have it in the head element, because in this case, the browser loads your CSS file before any HTML code and your styles are immediately applied. Now let's include the Bootstrap CSS library. For that, I'll Google Bootstrap and open the latest version of the website. At the moment, the latest version is 5.3.3, but yours can be different. Next, scroll down to the Include via CDN section and copy the link tag. CDN stands for Content Delivery Network. CDN is basically a network of servers in various locations worldwide. The main goal for a CDN is to deliver content like images, videos, CSS, and JavaScript files to you as quickly as possible. For that, CDN uses multiple techniques, like sending you this CSS file from the server that's closest to you. Okay, we're not interested in the Bootstrap's JavaScript in this video, so just copy the CSS link and paste it after our custom styles, like this. This link has a couple of extra attributes that we don't need to worry about. Also, notice that this link loads a remote CSS file from the internet. So save the file, and when I refresh the page, it has changed a little bit. That's because Bootstrap was loaded successfully and applied its own styles. Now let's add a couple of Bootstrap components to our page. For that, I'll go to the Bootstrap's website and click on the Docs link. Bootstrap has many different useful tools. I encourage you to experiment with them on your own. For now, we need the Components section. And let's open the list group item. I'm gonna scroll down until I find the component I like. This one, under the custom content, looks interesting. So to use it, I'm gonna copy the content from this example and paste it to our web page. Save the file, refresh our page, and there you go. Now we've got an item list that's beautifully styled. Let's use another component. How about some spinners? Okay, so which ones to choose? I like these growing spinners. So let's copy their HTML and paste it before the list group HTML. Save the file, refresh our page. Great, we've got many spinners to choose from. Bootstrap is an amazing library and worth learning. Based on the W3 Tech statistics, it's the most used CSS library in the world. Okay, now let's recap. Use the link tag to add external style sheets to your web page. Specify the URL of your style sheet in the href attribute and tell the browser that it's CSS with the rel attribute. And this is how you add external style sheets to your web page. If this video was helpful, subscribe to get more. Now check out this next video.